Welcome to Crimes Beyond Borders, where we'll bring you the most thrilling true crime stories every single day. If you're fascinated by mystery, intrigue, and the darker side of human nature, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us as we unravel the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases from around the world. The story is about to begin after this intro.
From city streets to far off lands, mystery slipping through our hands. Crimes beyond borders they speak, voices strong but words are meek. Every story leaves a mark, whispers softly in the dark.
Our stories at first are made for ourselves, to comfort us, to help us sleep, and to learn. Along the way, they become a part of our journey, teaching us English and fueling our passion for true crime. So, listen carefully, and if you're about to sleep, close your eyes. Let's begin. The Obsession, a Killer's Diary. They say obsession is a slow burn. It starts as a flicker, a small spark deep inside you, something you can ignore if you choose. But if you fan the flames, if you feed the fire, it consumes everything. It twists and warps your thoughts until there's nothing left but the obsession itself. For me, it wasn't something I could ignore. It started innocently, like these things always do. A glance, a smile, a simple moment where I saw her and she didn't see me. That's all it took for the fire to ignite. Her name was Emily. I first saw her at a grocery store. I wasn't looking for anyone that day. I was just going about my business, pushing my cart through the aisles like any other ordinary man. But when I saw her, when I really saw her, something in me changed. She was reaching for a box of cereal, something mundane, but the way her fingers brushed the shelf, the way her hair fell across her face as she leaned forward, it captivated me. It was as if the world shifted, and she became the center of my universe in that single, fleeting moment. I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning. That was the moment I lost control. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Everyone has crushes, right? I was just intrigued. I was curious about her, the way anyone might be curious about a stranger they find attractive. But it was more than that. Something about Emily drew me in, made it impossible to look away. She was beautiful, yes, but it wasn't just her appearance. It was the way she moved, the way she interacted with the world around her, as if she was unaware of the darkness lurking just out of view, unaware of me. I started following her, not every day, at least not at first. I'd catch a glimpse of her here and there, always in the same places. The grocery store, the coffee shop on 7th Avenue, the park where she jogged in the mornings. I told myself it was coincidence. I was just going about my routine, and if our paths crossed, well, that was just fate, wasn't it? But deep down, I knew. I knew what I was doing, even if I wouldn't admit it to myself. I was building my life around hers, shaping my days so that I could see her, be near her, even if she didn't know I existed. And it felt good. It felt right. The more I watched her, the more I learned. She worked at an art gallery downtown, not far from the park. She lived alone in a small apartment on Elm Street, 3rd floor, second window from the left. She had a cat, gray, with a little bell on its collar that jingled when it walked. She had a routine, and I memorized every part of it. I knew what time she left for work, what time she came home, when she was likely to meet friends for drinks, when she stayed in to watch TV. I knew what she liked to eat, what books she read, what kind of music she listened to when she thought no one was watching. I became her shadow, always just out of reach, always just behind her, following her every move. But it wasn't enough. Watching her wasn't enough. The fire inside me was growing, and I needed more. I needed to be closer to her, to know her in a way that no one else could. I started breaking into her apartment. It was easy, really. People think they're safe in their homes, but most of them don't even bother to secure their windows properly. I made sure I only went in when she wasn't there. I wasn't stupid. I couldn't risk her seeing me, not yet. But being inside her space, touching the things she touched, breathing the air she breathed, it was intoxicating. I'd sit on her couch, run my fingers over the spine of the book she'd left on the coffee table. I'd look through her fridge, see what kind of wine she liked, what food she ate. I'd lay on her bed, my head resting on her pillow, imagining what it would be like to hold her, to feel her warmth beside me. It felt like we were already connected, like she belonged to me, even if she didn't know it yet. The line between reality and fantasy started to blur. I'd go home at night, but my mind was still with her, in her apartment, watching her sleep. I'd imagine what it would be like to make her see me, to finally reveal myself. Would she be afraid? Would she scream? Or would she understand, the way I understood, that we were meant to be together? That's when the dreams started. Vivid, twisted dreams where she was mine, truly mine. In the dreams, she never ran, never fought. She welcomed me. She wanted me as much as I wanted her. But every time I woke up, reality crashed back down on me, and I'd find myself alone, sweating in my bed, the obsession gnawing at my insides. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get closer. It was a Saturday morning when I made my move. She was at the park, like she always was, jogging her usual route. I'd followed her so many times, I could predict every turn, every pause she made to catch her breath. I knew exactly where she'd be at every second. That's how I knew where to approach her. I stepped out from behind the trees as she rounded the bend near the lake. She didn't see me at first. Her headphones were in, her focus entirely on her run. But when she did, her eyes widened in surprise. For a split second, I saw recognition in her gaze, though I couldn't tell if it was real or just a projection of my own fantasies. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, as if this was just some chance encounter between strangers. "I've seen you around here before." She smiled politely, pulling out one of her earbuds. "Yeah, I come here a lot." That smile, it was the first time she had ever smiled at me. My heart raced, and I could feel the fire inside me roar to life. I tried to keep calm, to act normal, but it was hard, so hard. The object of my obsession was standing right in front of me, talking to me, and all I could think about was how easy it would be to reach out, to take her, to make her mine. We talked for a few minutes, small talk mostly. She was friendly, but distant. I could tell she wasn't really interested, but that didn't matter. I didn't need her to be interested. I just needed her to trust me, just enough to let me get closer. Over the next few weeks, I made sure we ran into each other more often. At the park, at the coffee shop, even once at the grocery store where it all began. Each time, I played it cool, pretending to be just another guy who happened to share the same routine. She never suspected a thing. It was working. Slowly, she was lowering her guard, letting me in just a little more each time. But it still wasn't enough. The fire was consuming me now, burning so hot that I couldn't think of anything else. I needed her. I needed to make her mine. That's when I decided to act. It was a rainy evening, the kind where the streets are empty and the world feels quiet, isolated. I knew she'd be home. I knew she'd be alone. I had been waiting for this moment for months, planning every detail, every move. I was ready. I broke into her apartment again, just like I had so many times before. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't leaving without her. She was in the shower when I entered. The sound of the water covered any noise I made, and I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening, savoring the anticipation. My heart was pounding in my chest, my hands trembling with excitement. I had waited so long for this. When I finally stepped into the bathroom, she didn't notice at first. The steam had fogged up the mirror, and the water rushing over her body drowned out the world around her. But when she turned and saw me standing there, her face went pale. What are you doing here?" she stammered, her voice shaking with fear. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The obsession had taken over completely now, and all I could think about was how beautiful she looked, how perfect she was. I stepped toward her, and she backed away, her eyes wide with terror. "Get out," she said, louder this time. "Get out, or I'll call the police." But she wasn't going to call anyone, not tonight. Before she could react, I lunged at her, my hands reaching for her throat. She fought, of course she did, but it didn't matter. I was stronger. I was in control. As I squeezed, her eyes locked onto mine, and for a brief moment, I saw something there. Recognition? Understanding? Maybe she finally realized who I was, what I had been doing all this time. Or maybe I just imagined it. It didn't matter. In the end, her body went limp, and the fire inside me, the obsession that had driven me to this point, finally quieted. I had her. She was mine. truly mine, just like I had always imagined. The silence that followed was almost peaceful. I stood there for a long time, staring at her lifeless body, feeling the weight of everything that had happened. The fire was gone now, replaced by something else, something darker and colder. But I wasn't stupid. I knew I couldn't stay. I cleaned up just like I had planned and slipped out of the apartment without a trace. The next day, when the news broke that Emily had been found dead in her apartment, an apparent victim of a home invasion, I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, just the satisfaction of knowing that I had finally won. Obsession had driven me to this point, but now it was over. The fire had burned itself out, or so I thought. Because now, there's someone else. I saw her yesterday at the park jogging just like Emily used to, and I felt it again, that flicker, that spark. It always starts innocently, but I know where it ends.
It whispers, cities asleep, mystery in the
The story
air,
has come to an
it
end,
seeps,
but stay relaxed. If
flickering
you feel yourself
lamps,
drifting off to
dimly
sleep,
glow,
just let the video play and enjoy the
secrets hidden
soothing
where
music in the
few
background.
will go.
Let it guide you gently
In
into
the
rest.
half-light, truth
We'll be here,
begins to
bringing you
show.
more stories every night.
Unseen
Sleep well,
forces
and see you tomorrow
pull
at
and
8 p.m.
Windows shut, curtains drawn tight. Lonely figures melt in the night. Echoes fade out of sight. Moonlight bathes the world in fright. Ticking clocks, relentless sound. Time slips when danger's around. In the shadows, lost and found. Haunting silence so profound. Flickering lamps dimly glow. Secrets hidden where few will go. In the half-light, truth begins to show. Unseen forces pull and tow. Windows shut, curtains drawn tight. Lonely figures melt in the night. Echoes fade out of sight. Moonlight bathes the world in fright. Ticking cloisters on crumbling walls.